It's great to finally be back at Google Next in person. I'm actually very excited today because we have one of the largest FinOps showing ever at the largest conference in the world. Matter of fact, this is one of the 6 FinOps sessions that we are having this year with many customer stories to share, lessons learned, product launch announcements. So look forward to many of the sessions tomorrow as well, and I'll share some of that insights as we go forward. This is an example of Google's commitment to help our customers on their cloud FinOps journey. And with that, I'm going to talk about how some of our customers, such as SAP, get started on their FinOps journey. However, before we get started, I'd like to take a quick poll. There are 3 stages of FinOps maturity: crawl, walk, and run. With a show of hands, how many of you here today are in the early crawl stage? OK, a few. How about walk stage? Wow, OK. And how many of you consider yourself in the run stage? Wow, I'm impressed. Matter of fact, according to the State of FinOps Foundation report, less than 20% of the organizations report themselves are in the run maturity stage of FinOps. And that's why today's session is so important. We're going to hear from one of our Google Cloud customers, SAP, who's the leader in cloud FinOps, on how they leverage key Google native capabilities and services to drive automations within their cloud FinOps organizations. So without further ado, let's get us started with some quick introductions. My name is Eric Lam, and I lead our Google Cloud FinOps practice.
So my name is Sarah McMullin. I'm the product lead for Google Cloud Billing. My team's responsible for building all the FinOps tools and the automation frameworks that customers like SAP use.
Hello, I'm Wallace Suleiman from SAP. I lead the global FinOps practice at SAP. And my team, specifically, we build and provide FinOps services to make SAP workloads run more cost efficiently on the cloud.
Thanks, Sarah and Wallace. Now, in case you are new to cloud FinOps, let's just start with some foundational concepts. At Google, we define cloud FinOps as an operational framework that brings technologies, finance, and business teams together. Really focus on driving that cultural shift, enabling organizations to make financial decisions in a more cost-conscious manner, driving that financial accountability to the edge, and help organizations accelerate and realize the business value. And this is achieved through people, process, and tooling. With that, our Google Cloud FinOps team has been working with hundreds of customers in the past years. We see there's 5 key critical building blocks of success in enterprise adopting cloud FinOps. Let's just start with the accountability and enablement. That is a function of a cross-functional team comprised of IT finance, engineering, architecture, operations, individuals coming together to set standards and best practices for the rest of the enterprise. Once you have that cloud FinOps team stood up, measuring success, measurement realization focus on what are the success metrics, the KPIs that you need to help drive the progress of your FinOps discipline. Many organizations, as they think about going to the run stage, cloud unit economics become relatively important. The third aspect of this is cost optimizations. It's a continuous discipline. It's not one-time and done event. As we think about cost optimizations, there are 3 key aspects to this: resources optimizations, pricing optimizations, and architectural optimizations. The 4th pillar is planning and forecasting. As you think about how you move from your workload from on-prem to the cloud, or as you manage your ongoing workload on the cloud, financial forecasting becomes very important. as your demand and your month-to-month variance can shift drastically, managing that financial forecast, thinking about how you're using that from the trend-based historical data consumption model to a drive-based model is a key focus area for many organizations. Finally, bring that all together with tools accelerator focusing on near real-time, data insights-driven, enabling business and product leaders to make those decisions. And that also includes automation tooling, which we'll be talking about with SAP today. So now I'm going to hand it over to Sarah to share some of the FinOps tools, the APIs that make available where a customer like SAP has been able to leverage.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. What an exciting time to be a part of FinOps, an evolving cultural evolution. It's interesting to see all the folks in this room. This practice really didn't exist until a couple years ago. And I have the exciting opportunity to share with you building blocks for kind of our next generation of FinOps automation. But first, just to set the stage of why we built the way we did, we need to recognize a foundational truth. And that truth is, whether you are doing cost allocation, forecasting, or optimization, all of those activities need to be grounded in good, solid cost data. And within cloud billing, our data strategy has 3 pillars. The first pillar is foundational data. Cost data seems deceptively simple, right? Cost is a function of price times quantity plus or minus some allocations. However, when you dig into the details of these foundational data, you realize quite quickly that that also includes usage. It can also include granular costs that give you insight into how those resources are being used. And it can also include credits, promotional credits, things that happen after your contractual discounts and before taxes. So now we have these foundational core data. We also need to look at our second pillar, which is enriching that data to make sense of it. And this is where scopes, such as the resource hierarchy, folders, organization, projects come into play, as well as your billing account scopes, in addition to scopes that you provide via labels or tags. And then once you have established this foundational data layer, you've enriched it, the third and final step within our data strategy is democratizing it. How you access the data is really a function of how you want to use it. And for example, if you are looking at a historical analysis over several months, a data pipeline probably makes sense for that use case. Maybe you're looking to make sense of something in a specific moment of time and make a mission-critical decision based on the price of something. Well, in that case, an API probably makes the most sense to get that data. And say you just want to, do a couple of simple cost calculations. Well, CSV downloads probably make sense for that type of function. So again, 3 foundational data pillars that we have. And now let's look at what we are actually putting out there. So within the foundational layer, we have 3 billing BigQuery exports. Interestingly enough, you can actually enable this within the billing console in 1 click. So that's not new. We've had this always. But some interesting facts about our billing BigQuery exports. We actually update these up to 8 times a day, depending on the service. And we also know that cost data is really big data. BigQuery enables the pipeline and the storage all in one. And fun fact, within cloud billing, we actually use BigQuery to process all of our cloud billing data, and it acts as our analysis store. So we actually use this to process billions of rows of data every day. Now, our 3 pipelines, the standard BigQuery export, includes your basic cost information, including usage, SKUs, project labels, locations, etc. So there's a multitude of data in the standard billing BigQuery export. Now, we have the detailed billing BigQuery export. The detailed billing BigQuery export is where we put all of the granular cost information into. Now, what's exciting is, throughout this year, if you've been watching, we've actually been including a lot of different services, granular costs, in the detailed billing BigQuery export. For example, we included App Engine at the instance level, Spanner at the instance level, Firestore at the instance level, and just this month, we've now included BigQuery at the jobs and datasets level. We also have a pricing BigQuery export, and that includes your contract pricing as well as your list pricing, and it also includes any currency, SKUs, and geographic taxonomy information. Okay, so there's your foundational data. Let's get into how we're enriching this data. So we've now included in the detailed BigQuery export the ability for you to join it with the pricing BigQuery export. We now have additional pricing fields for you to be able to join those two data sets together very easily. Specifically, we've added the effective price, tier start amount, and unit and pricing unit quantity columns. We also have included additional information for our customers to identify whether their purchases were made from Google or third-party marketplace, with the addition of data such as legal name of the partner and the transaction type of the seller. Additionally, what goes without saying is that we also put in support for tags last year. Now, tags is an interesting construct because we have labels and we have tags. And I'd be remiss to say that if you haven't looked at tags, I would advise you to do so. Right now, we only support compute and Spanner instance within the tagging ecosphere for cost data. But this is going to be our next generation of labels. And why are tags so special? Well, they support inheritance. They support security via IAM policies, so you can actually start to control who can create tags. And also, they support special characters like the @ symbol, so now you can have email addresses potentially adhered to your tags. So take a look at tags. This is going to be a very interesting enrichment tool that we are going to continue to build on within cloud data. And I'd advise you to take a look at that. All right, so now let's get into APIs. So first off, I want to walk us through some new tools we have to understand costs programmatically. We just recently put out the pricing API preview. And I should note that there's QR codes on all of these slides, so if you want to scan them, it'll take you to the information for you to quickly see what the product's all about. You can bookmark it as we go. So for those that are familiar, we have a catalog API. So what's this pricing API? Well, this is our next generation of the catalog API. Specifically, it now includes contractual pricing and additional metadata, including categorization of the product service family, region, discount type, and SKU groups. What does this mean? This means that now with the new pricing API, you can compare SKU prices and discounts across resources, regions, and SKU groups to understand how savings compare. So sometimes we get the question from customers, which is, okay, why are you putting out a public preview? Why isn't this going straight to GA? Well, let me tell you, we take our contracts through our APIs very seriously at Google. We know that you build mission-critical applications on our APIs when they GA. Now, this is good and bad for us from a product development standpoint. That also means that we cannot introduce breaking changes into a GA product because you're using those. So for us to be able to quickly iterate and learn and evolve our pricing API, we want you to use it. We want you to tell us feedback. We want to be able to take your direct feedback and make this product awesome for when we GA this next year. And I'll tell you that we're going to include batching of querying of all the SKUs by the end of the year. So that's one thing that's going to go into this API before we GA it, as well as we're going to include visibility on SKU pricing history. So those are two features that we want to put in before we GA, but we also want to get feedback from our community and our ecosystem on using this API. And we also realize that customers don't launch a SKU. That's the thing we monetize within cloud billing. They don't even really sometimes launch a service like compute. They launch a collection of these services to form a workload. This is where the cost estimation API comes into play. The cost estimation API eliminates the gap between services and SKUs. So what you can do is you can use this API to define your workload. You give it your expected usage, your region, your resource type, and then it'll return one or more SKUs and the associated contracted prices with that estimation. Now currently, we only support compute and storage, but we plan to evolve the services as this API gets used. So again, take advantage of it, it's there, and provide us feedback. So now I'm gonna get a little bit more into how you can automate GCE optimizations through committed use discounts. So committed use discounts, or sometimes we refer to them as CUDs for short, they're a great way to optimize your rates. We allow customers discounts, off-list pricing, or negotiated contract pricing in exchange for a commitment of 1 or 3 years with varying commitment by term or by region. And the Commitments API, this has been in market for quite a while, allows you to view, create, and manage your resource-based commitments. Now, there's some additional features that have actually been added in this year. Those include the ability to merge your commitments. So now you can extend the lifetime of your commitment to co-term with your billing contract. Now, a couple of fine points on merging. Merged commitments will inherit the latest end date from your merged commitment. And merged commitments obviously need to be of the same term. So 1 year can merge with 1 year, 3 year can merge with 3 year, and they have to be in the same region and machine family. The other thing that this API now supports is upgrading, so you can upgrade from 1 to 3 year. And it also involves splitting. So now you can split your CUDs to get to the right level of granularity to manage. Some restrictions apply around splitting, specifically splitting CUDs are applicable not to licensed CUDs or CUDs that are attached to reservations, so you can't split those ones. But it also does not extend to upgrading, so you can't shorten your CUD by splitting it. And any prioritized attribution on those CUDs that you split, that resets. So if you're familiar with prioritized attribution, just be aware of that. But it's pretty exciting, I think, that now we're starting to include more and more functionality within this API for you to essentially manage CUDs programmatically. And I know that a lot of our customers, especially if you buy CUDs in tranches, you may have a long, long list. You can tidy that up pretty nicely in an automated fashion with this API. And I already kind of mentioned CUD allocation. So CUD allocation is a really interesting feature that we have within Google that's pretty unique. We allow our customers to allocate their standard resource CUDs proportionally or by project. Now this, what we are now offering, is the ability via a new procurement API that is still in private preview. So this is one of the only QR codes that you'll need to sign up for this private preview. But you will be able to now attribute your committed use discounts by folder. So why is this kind of interesting? Well, if you organize your resources by folder, it certainly makes cost allocation using committed use discounts a lot easier. Now, also note that discount sharing must be turned on for you to be able to take advantage of this feature. All right, so I just kind of ran through some foundational data. We've enriched it a bit. We have some new features related to the APIs. You know, but where are we kind of going with this? The amount of foundational data is only going to increase as we deliver more and more capabilities within the cloud. That's a given. And you know, we're always going to be here to continually support that journey through additional granular data and through tools to automate this process. But I think we're still in the early days of automation for FinOps. And in fact, what I think is surprising is a lot of folks here were in the run stage, but I wonder if that is the majority of the FinOps practitioners out there, where we're seeing kind of a mixed bag of automation not being adopted as much. And so why is that? Is it because the tools aren't in place? Is it the processes? Is it the people? So we have a theory in Google, and we think that obviously some of these new announcements that were made this morning and in the previous days within Next, AI is really going to accelerate automation. It's very clear to us. Where others may have struggled with applying some of these tools and data, that bridge is only going to be less and less and less closed through AI. And we're already thinking about working on our next round of automation capabilities using this technology. So I want to leave kind of with that teaser of where we're going. And I want to introduce our next speaker, which is Wallace Suleiman from SAP, who is going to talk to us about how he's led a FinOps practice that I would categorize as in the running stage, actually. SAP is a very large enterprise, and I think that Wallace has grown a FinOps practice and has some really interesting automation use cases at large enterprise scale. So I'm super excited to introduce him, and we'll walk through kind of how they've set up their tooling using all of the foundational building blocks that I just talked about. Wallace.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I hope every one of you are enjoying this fantastic conference. What about Gen AI? I want to really thank you, everyone, for listening to what SAP is doing in the FinOps space. Maybe a little bit of a history of where SAP is with Google Cloud Platform. We started about 5 years ago, a little more than 5 years ago, in 2018. We started adopting our workload, moving our workload to Google Cloud Platform. So it's been a really decent 5-year journey to where we are today. And we're running today one of the most complex and the largest scale-wise, right, application workloads on Google Cloud Platform. So we're really proud of that. If you look at how we came to today, the journey that we've come through, we have really come to the point where we spent a lot of time looking at how we migrate our existing workload or deploying new workloads on Google Cloud Platform. This is really a very interesting experience that we've had I want to share with you today. Back, sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
No worries. I'm trying to go off script a little bit. SAP, of course, some of you know, we're one of the largest application software companies out there. We've been operating in the multi-cloud environment, so needless to say, we're running both on hyperscalers, more than just one hyperscaler platforms. We're also operating in our own data centers. So for us, one of the complexities is to really look at how we run our workloads in a way that we can really manage our workload at scale operationally and also cost efficiently. As you start spending more money and deploying more workloads at our scale, we're talking about north of $1 billion of spending any one of these platforms. You really need to look at the cost efficiency, right? But just like a lot of you guys, I see a lot of hands. You are either already doing this today, or you are doing at a pretty good degree of maturity. And one of the things you'll be looking at is how you wanted to scale your operations in a cost-effective way, right? So I want to share some of the learnings we're doing on the FinOps journey. We are just like anybody. We're also learning every day from our friends at Google, from our friends from the FinOps Foundation. There's a lot of new practices, best practices that have been created in the last number of years. And I think we've benefited a lot of that. But historically, when we started doing our migrations and our deployment into the public cloud, we've taken, maybe consciously, we've taken a hybrid approach. What I mean by that is we've started by looking at as many vendor solutions as possible to accelerate our journey. But at the same time, we're looking at ways that we can customize our specific needs by leveraging as much native capabilities from the cloud providers as possible as well. You heard a lot of the service, new features, API capabilities Sarah just mentioned. And we're also working very closely with Eric's team to look at the opportunities to build up new services to power our productive workload. So today we're running both our customer-facing productive workload, like SAP Business Technology Platform, our S/4HANA, software as a service, our Ariba procurement services, just to name a few, as well as many internal workloads on Google Cloud Platform. Today, I want to show you, just by naming 2 examples, if you are like us, we've been doing this multiple years on Google Cloud. We're looking at how to run cost efficiently. One of the 2 things Eric mentioned earlier in the FinOps best practices is to optimize your resources and also optimize your rate or commitment. Right? So by committing your resources to Google Cloud Platform, you get a very steep discount. But how do you work both sides of the coin, if you will, efficiently? Because one of the problems we wanted to look at is as you start to optimize your workload, you also may be cannibalizing your commitment a little bit. So how do you balance that, 2 sides of the coin, if you will? I want to show you today 2 examples of what we're doing in the cost optimization era. So I'm showing you a right-sizing example, and this is what we're doing to customize some of the workload on Google Cloud. So specifically, what we're doing here is to looking at how we can downsize some of the VMs, because this is probably the biggest opportunity we're looking at when we can achieve resource efficiency in Google Cloud. In order to look at what opportunities we have, first of all, we wanted to look at what are the underutilized resources in terms of virtual machines in the Google Cloud Platform. So we scan any particular projects, and we look at how we can collect those performance metrics data, because in any right-sizing exercise, the last thing you wanted to do is to impact your application performance. Right? So we look at the performance metrics data over time. We use Google Run to scan our environment every hour, and we collect a lot of those performance metrics data, CPU utilization, memory, disk I/O, or what have you, into BigQuery. And we perform the analysis. Of course, all this data are mapped to our asset and cost objects. And we look at the analytics, and then we put that into our right-sizing engine to perform the downsizing recommendations where applicable to our lines of businesses. Some of the executions are done outside of the right-sizing engine. Some of them are integrated with our application CI/CD pipeline. So a lot of those actions are being performed either seamlessly integrated, or we provide the recommendation to our application team. They would be taking those executions. Once those right-sizing actions are completed, we track them and we input those results into our commitment management engine. We built an in-house system called Plutus. I'm going to show you what we've been doing in Plutus to manage committed usage discounts. A lot of the APIs Sarah discussed earlier are being leveraged in the Plutus engine. We're using the commitment API to manage a lot of the cuts and flex cuts. We're also using the inventory API to list and to discover what's the current status is of our resources. We're also doing that for BigQuery additions right now. And last but not least, we use the cloud billing APIs and pricing informations. We're actually updating all of the new pricing APIs based on the latest release in all of our toolings. So a lot of those automations are built into this product or this service that we're centrally managing all of the cuts and flex cuts across the entire company. So without further ado, I wanted to really show you a demo because these systems are running behind SAP Firewall. So I have to record them into this demo. Hopefully it plays. And play. All right. Do I have to press again? All right.
My name is Serene, and I'm a DevOps engineer from SAP. Today, I'm going to show you how we leverage GCP capabilities to optimize SAP workload running on Google Cloud. We built an in-house tool called Cost Optimization Platform, or COP. It integrates with GCP native services to help SAP applications run cost efficiently. On the landing page, I can track the savings for my organization, including achieved savings year-to-date, projected savings on track for fiscal year 2023, and the max potential savings identified by the COP tool. Below, I can also find the max potential savings for my organization. When I click on right-sizing saving opportunity, COP directs me to the optimization detail page. COP can analyze the CPU and memory utilizations over a chosen time frame. We use MQL to query Google Cloud Monitoring API to collect VM metrics every hour. This is managed by Cloud Run. Additionally, we will use the Google Asset Inventory API to gather resource details. Everything will be stored in BigQuery, which will be analyzed by COP to provide precise scaling recommendations. Let's check this instance. Here you can see you can save $540 per month by switching N2 Standard 32 to N2 Custom 1250176. If we look at the metrics, the CPU utilization during the past 30 days is very low. It suggests reducing vCPUs from 32 to 12 and memory from 128 GB to 49 GB. Once you're ready to optimize, simply apply the recommended configuration in your cloud environment. Afterward, you'll be directed to the optimization progress view to track the status of the instance. COP uses statistical analysis to make the best suitable recommendations. Once this VM is downsized, the unused CPU and memory can be viewed in our in-house central RI and CUD management tool called Plutus. Now I am on the Plutus inventory screen. I can check all the CUDs in my project filtered by region and machine type so that I can see if there are enough CUDs to cover the landscape. The inventory table also displays an overview of CUD performance and detailed information for each commitment made. The VMs from downsizing are already here, and I can use other tools in Plutus to maximize CUD return on investment. Plutus leverages Google's commitment APIs such as commitment, resource commitment, commitment scope list, and more to build up the CUD's inventory report. I reach a point where I have sufficient vCPU and RAM usage for my VMs. However, Plutus identified low CUD coverage for my project landscape from the inventory page. I can use the recommendation page where the Plutus engine proposes recommendations to bring more net savings and increase CUD coverage. In the recommendation report, Plutus fetches usage data through BigQuery query job configuration and provides recommendations to increase my CUD coverage. Plutus will suggest vCPU and RAM purchase amounts for my project. Once I decide on the best fit recommendation, I can select one or more projects and purchase the recommended amounts. Plutus facilitates this transaction and makes the purchase with its execution engine using the Commitment Operation API. Note that everything I showed here can be automated as well. Once the purchase has been made, I can go back to the inventory page and check my project coverage again. Thanks to Google's rich set of service APIs and automation capabilities, SAP is able to efficiently manage and optimize its application workload running on Google Cloud.
Wow, Wallace, that's cool.
Thank you.
So what's next as you look forward to enhance the COP tool, if you will?
Yeah, so I think just like what you showed in the FinOps flywheel, one of the next pain point or challenges we're tackling is to really how to accurately forecast our demands. Because the demand management is really critical to doing the right commitment management. And the optimization effort itself also impacts how we are going to be fluctuating our demand situation over time. So a lot of those demand signals doesn't come from one location. I mean, typically, we collect them from our sales pipelines, what have you. But in reality, you need to look at a lot of the other impacting factors. And this is the area where we are, hopefully, not just by looking at aggregating different demand signals, but also looking at the power of machine learning to help us do more accurate forecast and demand management.
Thank you for that. So as you just heard from Wallace, right, no matter where you are in your FinOps journey, it's an iterative process. Certainly, your journey might start in the early crawl stage, and in order to do what he was just showing through that demo, if you're early on, cost and labeling strategy become very important. Then if you're in the walk stage, the next step is that getting that cost visibility through a cost insight dashboard. So with the SAP use case, they build their own dashboard using a number of cloud billing APIs and services natively. And then as he shared, the next step of that is once you have the visibility in place, financial forecasting, get into that unit economics, and actually realize the business value is the essential step in your FinOps journey. And I think one of the key aspects of this is that many of you raise your hand, either crawl, walk, or run stage. You are not alone on this, right? You have your peers, you have the FinOps Foundation, and also you have our Google Cloud Consulting team here to partner with you on this journey. So with that, I want to show you and announce one of our latest offering, right? You can't leave this conference without talking about Gen AI. So we actually launched our Cloud FinOps for Gen AI offering, which help our customers ensure that they are able to maximize their Gen AI investment by following the FinOps principles and processes. The service offering includes a framework for assessing your Gen AI readiness from FinOps perspective, a Gen AI onboarding process, a cost-benefit modeling to help customers as they think about how you should think about prioritizing your Gen AI use cases. Furthermore, I'm very excited to announce and now launch our new assessment tool that you can actually access today by scanning the QR code on the screen. So the first one is a lightweight version of our Cloud FinOps assessment tool. And the other one is assessing your Gen AI readiness. Definitely go take a test run today and share your feedback with us. Both of the tools are pretty self-serve, very quick, short 50 minutes questionnaires that you can complete, and we'll share with you all the recommendations and the next step on how you can take actions on it.